Hey everyone, and welcome to SEO Last Week. I am your host, Sean the SEO Geek, and I'm really excited to share this with you because we've had an awesome couple weeks in the world of SEO for a number of reasons, most of which I'm going to be covering in this video. If you could be so kind, please like and subscribe to this wherever you are seeing this episode, whether it be on YouTube or wherever you're listening to your podcasts. I'd greatly appreciate it. But we're getting ready to roll right into it and get you some awesome content here about what's going on in the world of SEO. So without any further ado, let's get to it. So the first thing, if you have been paying attention to what's going on in the world of SEO specifically for Google, you know that it seems like the world is on fire at the moment. It seems like we are at end times. It is the apocalypse. People would be having you think that we are reaching the point where this whole thing is just blowing up. The whole world is falling apart. There are a number of blogs in the SEO world that are claiming that this is the result of the tail end of the product review update, which we're going to touch on in just a minute here, but I think overall this is a signal of Google and their intentions of, hey, you got to keep working on your website. You know, this is Google's way of saying, like, hey, keep improving things, keep doing the right things. And really what the product review update was it was basically Google coming along and giving a big old Will Smith style slap down to websites that are creating and fabricating reviews for products. So if you have a website and you were saying, hey, can you go and just write a positive review about this product on my website? Just give it 5 stars, make it look nice, so that when people go to buy, my customers will see that other people have given some good signals. Google has essentially come along and said, hey, this isn't really what we want to see in websites. We want to see legitimate reviews. So what I'm thinking is, and this is just a guess, I don't know how Google is determining if a review is legit or not, but if they're seeing probably that there are a bunch of reviews suddenly in a row and then there aren't many, that may be how they are determining if your reviews are accurate and authentic. Now, what does this mean? Does it mean that Google is going to start rolling this over into other areas? So if you are, let's say that you have a local business and you're asking your friends, hey, write a review about my business. Do we think this is going to roll over into that? Personally, I hope so, because I see it all the time. Like, hey, write a review of my business on my Google business profile. I don't know. I don't know if there will be spillover into that. Personally, I hope so, because as Google tells us, just do the right things, be truthful, be authentic, and that is how you win the game of SEO in the long run. So, speaking of Google business listings, Google has recently added a feature that showcases what can be recycled at a local business. So if you are a business that, say, recycles batteries, recycles paper, recycles anything really, be sure to include it in your profile. Go in and update it on your Google business listing. This is really a really cool feature. It seems like Google is really making an effort to reward companies that are doing environmentally friendly tasks. So a couple weeks ago, a representative from Google had mentioned on Twitter that they are trying to find ways of rewarding companies that are showcasing that they are making a positive environmental impact. There's obviously a lot of ways that could potentially be tracking that, but it's something that's on Google's radar, is what is happening positively for the environment with these companies, and they're trying to give a little bit of a bump up and reward for those companies that are doing so. So be sure to update your Google business listing to include anything that you might recycle. Again, keep it honest, keep it truthful. Don't just fabricate things for the sake of using a feature. Be sure to use it authentically, and you may see a little bit of a benefit from Google, again, as long as you are using this truthfully and authentically. Now, taking a step back and looking at what is the overall theme of everything that we're seeing Google do these days, between the product review update, the environmental updates, and everything happening in between. There's been a lot. But if we take a look back and we say, okay, what does all of this overall mean? It seems like it's really just layered in that Google is looking for businesses that are doing the right things, not only socially and environmentally, but also just what you're doing right within your website. So one of the things that came up this week was that Google really hinted that their main concern when it comes to content is the quality of the content over how you went about getting that content. So there was a lot of buzz last week saying that, hey, if you're using AI style content, Google may recognize that and not really rank you. But then they kind of spun that a little bit and said, hey, look, we don't really care how you went about getting that content. It really just matters that you are using high quality content onto your website. So, frankly, I do personally use a bit of artificial intelligence generated content, all original. We make sure that nothing is ever spun up and repurposed and duplicated or anything like that. But we do use some articles like this, and in one article that we published, it was indexed and ranked on the second page of Google within the course of about a week. So this was an article that was AI generated, and it was quality enough that it showed up almost immediately on the second page of Google. So obviously a little bit of a push needed to get it onto the first page, but that was a pretty impressive turnaround, in my opinion. It's among the fastest that I've seen in quite some time. So keeping on that theme of overall quality, my recommendation is that if you are looking at doing updates to your website to benefit your SEO, really just take a step back and think about, how can I make sure Google is having the best user experience here? And more importantly, how can my customers have the best user experience here possible? So does that mean that I use some kind of markup so that if I'm at the top of the list on Google and there are some breakout possibilities, let's say that you're sharing recipes or something like that, there's a little bit of a breakout there for some of the information about recipes. That's the kind of thing that we have to consider, is the best user experience for our customers and the best experience for the crawlers of Google to understand what it is that is on your page. Now, one final thing, and to me, this is really where I wanted to kind of land this whole episode, was in amongst all of this, where we're talking a lot about quality and a lot of changes happening within Google that are really reflecting that, hey, you got to keep making your site better. You got to keep making your site better. This is almost, we're inching in on it within the next couple weeks, the 10th anniversary of Google's original Penguin update. Now, this is my personal favorite algorithm update, because this is the one where Google basically planted their flag, and it was their battle cry saying, hey, this is the end of easy SEO. You got to start doing some work here. Instead of trying to find a loophole to find your way to the top of the ranking temporarily, this is the time that you're going to have to put in the work, make it happen, and really just do things right and create a great user experience, create a great experience for our crawlers as opposed to just trying to take some kind of quick shortcut to get a quick ranking. And that's why I personally celebrate the Google Penguin algorithm update, which was released April 24th, 2012. We're coming up on 10 years of that, and frankly, a big filtering and sweeping out of low-quality SEO work, and I think that that is something to celebrate because it has made the web a better place, at least on Google. So that concludes this week's episode of SEO Last Week. Again, if you haven't done so already, I would be forever grateful if you could subscribe, like, and tell a friend about what you heard here, and I hope that you found this informative and helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments of wherever you're listening or watching this, or go to SeanTheSEOGeek.com, and I look forward to seeing you all next week on SEO Last Week. Take care.